So I'm biracial. My mother has Black heritage, and my father has white heritage. And I recently saw my heritage DNA come through, and I always knew that my family was from Africa, but I wasn't able to pinpoint where. So when I saw where specifically my family was from, I thought of, you know, they came from somewhere, right? And me growing up in the metropolitan area, I felt very connected to my my ancestors who came here unwillingly. So I would love to have a cup of coffee with my ancestors who came here unwillingly, to see what was their experience,
their story.
what was their story, understanding that it was unwilling that they came to this country, wanting to know what their life was like in their native land, and seeing what their life was like in this new world that they did not want to come to.
Can I ask you one more question?
Absolutely.
If you can meet one of them, what would you want to tell them?
I'd want to tell them that I remember them.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It'd be my grandma Bruno, my mom's mom. I love her to death. She passed away a couple years before I got clean and stopped doing all the shenanigans and acting up and being a dumb kid. Unfortunately, after she passed away, I got clean, so she never got to see it. I would love for her to hang out, meet my kids, just be part of the family. I know she's watching after us, but I would love to see her in person. I loved her so much, and I need to get a tattoo in remembrance.
Wow, you miss her a lot.
Oh yeah, she's my guardian angel.
What would you want to tell her if you, let's say,
Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for never turning your back on me and never losing hope and faith that I would right my way. And I love you.
I'm sure she is proud of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, if I can have a cup of coffee with one person in the world, it would be Maya Angelou. My name is Maya. I was named after Maya Angelou, and I like a lot of her poems. And she was like, she had an impact on the world, so I would love to just discuss with her like her life, the stuff she lived through, talk to her about my life, how she influenced my mom to name me Maya, how my favorite poem by Maya Angelou is I Rise. So I would talk to her about that poem and like what impacted her to make that poem, and just the different struggles she went through when she was growing up and in her life. And yeah.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
If I could have a cup of coffee with anyone, probably my brother. He died a year before I was born, when he was 9. And yeah, I was named after him, and I would just want to talk to him about what life was like. And yeah.
So the one person I would like to have a cup of coffee would be Nikola Tesla, because as the things went through, there were a lot of things that he was responsible for, but never got the credit for it. So I would love to hear his thoughts about how the electricity would be in the future, or whatever his thoughts were when he was at that time. So
You think he's underrated?
I think he's underrated as well, because he was responsible for a lot of things but never got the credit for it. So I would love to have a chat about it, and I just wanted to see his thoughts about electricity for the future. What did he see in the future before he passed off? What did he see after like 50, 100, 200 years ago, how the electricity would manifest? Did he see the future that we are observing right now, or something else?
Do you think anybody alive right now is similar to him or have the same vision? Maybe Elon Musk?
Maybe Elon Musk, but I don't think it's the same vision. He's going more towards commercial side. But yeah, I mean, the closest one is Elon, to be very honest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
I would love to have a cup of coffee or maybe a pint with Mozart.
Wow.
He's my favorite composer, has been since my childhood. And the more I read about him, the more I can relate to his way of thinking, to his way of understanding art. And actually, I think he would be an amazing guy to have a cup of coffee with.
Wow. If you have one thing to tell him, what would you want to tell him?
I think I would prefer to listen.
To listen
what
to
you
you.
have to say, actually, yeah. Because I do think that he comes across in his letters as a guy with a tremendous sense of humor, and also his works are quite, how should one say, quite clever, and I think it would be just amazing to, over a cup of coffee, to understand how his mind works. It's
Wow.
just as simple as that.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It would have to be my grandfather. I grew up in the academic life. He was a professor. He made learning fun. He got me into poetry. I'm starting to rediscover a love for poetry now, and I miss him every day. He's been gone for 5 years, and if there's anything I could tell him, it's that I'm gonna be able to. I'm on my way to self-publishing my first book. So hopefully, you know, I make him proud.
If I could have a cup of coffee with one person, dead or alive, it would be my great-grandmother Elfrida, who I met one time when I was a little girl, but I would really love to sit with her and hear about her life and her stories.
Would you want to tell her anything?
That I love her and I thank her for all the risks she took in her life so that we could have a happy life today.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, well, my name's Mike. I'm an audio engineer from New York City. I live in Queens. And the one person I would have a cup of coffee with is a producer out in California named Rob Schnapf. He's one of my favorite producers. I look up to him a lot. Always listening to his releases and like trying to figure out how he makes the sounds he does so that I can push my own work further. And yeah, I feel like I would learn a lot from him, and he's a big inspiration. So that's what I would pick.
Imagine that he's gonna watch this video. Do you have anything to say to him?
I would just tell him that I've like listened to all the interviews that are out there online already, and like seen the walkthroughs of his studio and stuff, and like just love to go there one day, I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Socrates, I mean, I'm not a guy who's read like a ton of Plato. I wish I could say that I have, but of what I've read, you really come to understand Plato as this guy who's sort of kind of seen as like the beginning of like Western philosophy, like classical philosophy, that, you know, gets passed down from the Greeks to the Romans to the Renaissance thinkers and to the modern era. But Plato, a lot of what Plato's work is recounting what his supposed teacher Socrates said. And the thing is, we don't have any works from Socrates himself. He didn't write, apparently, but Plato talks a lot about him. And so we have this image of Socrates from Plato, but we don't really have, you know, what ideas of Socrates did Plato not deem even worthy to write? You know, what was that stage between Plato's ideas and sort of the whatever proto-philosophy was brewing in ancient Athens at the time? And I think that missing stage might have been the actual person, the actual beliefs of Socrates, you know? And if you could sit down and have coffee with him, I mean, not only would you understand ancient Greece, which is like really the beginning of kind of Western thought, because, you know, it's 800 BC, just not really much happening with the Greece. There's not a lot of written records, but then moving into the 700s, 600s, rapid urbanization occurs, and suddenly just ideas everywhere, writings everywhere. It's really incredible how fast Greece springs up, and with it, the earliest thinkers that sort of begin the tradition that's still going on to this day. And I don't know, that stuff fascinates me. And just the situation of ancient Greece, you know, a civilization that really doesn't have anything before it. You know what I mean? Like, we can look back, you can go on the internet, you can look up anything. You can look up what happened 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. The Greece, they knew there was a Trojan War that happened at some point, but even that was mythological. They don't, even to the ancient Greeks, they're like, we don't really know if the Trojan War really happened. A lot of them speculated on that. So you're sitting on this
point in history where your Socrates is the beginning of data being compiled and piled and thoughts being compiled and piled on top of each other. And before that, we don't really get too much, not out of Greece at least, and not in a continuous manner,
So you think he is one of the greatest humans that ever lived?
Huh. Do I think he's one of the greatest? Look, what's funny is that since no one had done it yet, maybe he wasn't all that special on his own. But the thing is, the fact that he was the first to do it, I think, the fact that each of the nuances in his thoughts have artifacts that trail for literally thousands of years, and you could be like, oh, that is actually still incredibly important to how people think about X or Y to this day. And I think that is just fascinating,
Wow.